How are you from wherever you are, and welcome to the People's Bench. There is where we say it the way it is. I am your host Fred Ogweno, and we are coming to you from Muthu Silver Springs Hotel here in Nairobi. A very nice place where you can just come and relax with your family. And for more, you can scan the QR code. You will be able to find more information. Tonight we are speaking matters the youth, matters Gen Z, matters where are we heading to as a nation. And where is the future of the young people? I'm privileged to have Mr. Kasmuel McOure. He was one of the leaders who were on the streets fighting for the rights of the young people, fighting for finance bill to be brought down. They achieved almost everything, and now he's working closely with the ODM party under the mentorship of Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you, Fred.
Welcome back to the bench.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. A pleasure to see you again.
Always a pleasure to be at the bench.
Always doing good.
Asante.
I like your suit, man.
Thank you, as do I yours.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, straight to the point.
Yes.
You people were on the streets.
Right.
And you were leaderless.
Yes.
You were tribalist.
Yes.
You were everything less.
Right.
And now it seems like you are rather less.
No. I think that might be an unfair analysis of the Gen Z because the whole reason why we were tribeless is because we said for far too long tribes have been used to divide us. The reason we were saying that we were partyless at the time, the existing political parties were not alive to our issues. They were not willing to cooperate with us in advancing for this. And the only other time we were saying we were leaderless is for far too long it felt as though if protests have one leader, it would have been easy at the time to just to scuttle the whole thing and dilute the mission. So when we went out as the young people, we said that now we want to do away with what we've thought political organization has been like, and now we want to advance a different kind of politics. Then that's what informed what that was. And for people like me, I remember saying very clearly, and after the 8th of August 2024, that now I have identified the problem after submitting myself to a collective for far too long. And political problems require political solutions. They require us to be in the game that is politics in the country because it affects real people's lives, it affects livelihoods, it affects people's health, people's education and their well-being. And therefore we have to understand how the political system works. And that's why now I made the pivot into the Orange Democratic Movement.
Thank you.
Yes.
I hear you. And things now, where are you heading to? Because we've seen you people are speaking from divided position. Some of you, particularly those who were on in the front line, fighting for accountability, fighting for good leadership, fighting for the end to corruption. Have you achieved that which took you to the streets?
As I've always said, this is a protracted struggle. It is not a struggle that is to take a year. We've done quite a couple of achievements in the past year that we went to agitate. As is the nature of every protracted struggle, they have waves, ins and outs. But there's a key problem that was there that we might not have addressed, and we did not have the courage to address at the time. There were several opposing forces in the sense that even within civil society there was quite a bit of division because people are not willing to open books for each other. Other people are just out there chasing grants. People are looking for different positions for themselves, and therefore that made me walk away from that because if we backdate, you realize that I was a spokesperson, which is essentially the leader of the National Coordinating Committee of People's Assemblies, which was a banner organization that bundled up 63 organizations. Everybody who organized and participated in protests, especially in the leading form, in the circulation of posters, in the coordination of points of access points for health, access points for food, access points for water. That's the organization I was representing. So I know exactly what was going on in there. And there were certain political parties in there as well, in the People's Assemblies. But after a thorough analysis and consultation from people I respect and even members of the collective, I submitted and said that this is clearly not heading the direction I hope it heads. I was hoping it would head. And even for our country, I don't think we are being fair if all we are doing is agitating for the sake of agitating. Therefore, I made the pivot to the Orange Democratic Movement immediately after the impeachment of the former deputy president, which I think was a very good thing because he is an agent of chaos. He posits himself currently as an opposition leader, but he is nothing but a tribal warlord who is just interested in beating drums of tribal war around elections.
But he says he's the truthful man. He's the only one who can tell President William Ruto the truth.
But
Rigiji.
But you know this thing about people like Rigathi is they're nothing but tinkling symbols, in the sense that they sold us this government. We gave them a better alternative. We told them that we have an alternative. We want to administer state. And the talking points they're currently trying to raise to the people are the talking points we had in the Azimio manifesto. We said that we present to you Raila Amolo Odinga as a leader, and it didn't. Right now you hear his people, nothing but tribal vitriol as they go ahead to spew. They're saying that now you hear some of his senators who do not have the kahunas to even resign from government, from parties, say that these are the people, you're the people who voted for William Ruto. William Ruto is now neglecting you. He's taking development to other places. So you want to tell me you want to localize a president to one area, and on the one hand you're telling us this president is bad, but then when he goes to develop other areas you want to disenfranchise them. And you need to remember, it is this man that used to talk about shares all the time. He used to say that his work is just to sit around State House and set traps for the leader of opposition, and there's no such thing in Kenya as a leader of opposition. He is my party leader, the leader of the largest pro-people progressive party. And then suddenly he wants to paint this picture that now it is wrong for people to try to develop the country. So personally, I think after his impeachment, I got quite a bit of clarity. I got to understand that there's a way the population thinks, there's a way the population wants things to be done. And you must, Fred, you have to trust the people to be their own liberators. So while thinking that people are speaking from different fronts, several challenges arose. I can tell you some of the challenges I faced. One, beyond the physical threats to my life, there were tribal slurs consistently. I receive messages on my phone. People are calling me Kehe. People suddenly remember that I am an uncircumcised man, that I'm a Luo. I'm all these sorts of despicable things that were sent to me. And I asked myself, what does all this have to do? I mean, when you're selecting the school for your child to go, you don't ask are my tribesmen there? You ask, do they offer the best curriculum? When I'm asking for a person to manage my house, my domestic manager, I don't ask myself, what tribe do they come from? I ask myself, are they going to be able to take care of my child? When I'm looking for someone to service my car, I do not ask, what tribe are you, so that I go for the paint job or to get tires. But suddenly, when it comes to us having political discourse, we suddenly remember that, oh, this person has a foreskin. That thing, I thought it was so backward and primitive. And I said I will no longer want to associate myself with people who this is how they're going to reason. Where on the one hand, you want us to participate in selective outrage. So you want us to insult certain leaders, but certain leaders are sacred cows, they will not be touched. So when you want us to when I say we need to audit the former president, suddenly you start getting finicky about it. When I say that no, this deputy president I think is a bad man, he used to wake up to go and he is equally as culpable as the current government. No, you tell me no, that one do not touch. But when you see me besmirching the name of Raila Odinga, you cheer me so much. When you see me, when Baba puts out a statement and I put out a counter statement, you cheer me all the way. And I said, but I now need to understand who else has gone through the things I've gone through. Because when you start calling me Kehe, you start calling me Mogoroki and whatnot, I want to go home and ask myself, who can I consult about these things? Then I found out that His Excellency Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was more than willing to mentor me. And I said I was looking for a party. ODM is responsible for the installation of the constitution that we boast of. It is the biggest driver for devolution in this country, is the Orange Democratic Movement. Sometimes we want to sit pretty and talk about people like former President Kibaki and say, oh, he brought us. Former President Kibaki was opposed to devolution. He was one of the biggest hindrances to devolution. Raila Amolo Odinga, in his proposition for the constitution in 2000 as we are heading into the 2010, when they were in the Grand Coalition government, his suggested model only had 15 counties. And his proposition was that the counties would have governors. And Kibaki, in a fit of rage, said, what do you mean governors? Governors for who? He felt like power was going to be sucked out of the executive. Then they decided to balkanize it into 47. Part of the concessions Raila Odinga has had to make is endure having his name associated with the bloating of the this two-house system, the two levels of government system. He said that for him is very big on devolution, that he settled for a bastardized version from Kibaki's government. So on the one hand, you want to praise Kibaki for devolution, but he was one of the biggest opposers. So when Raila Odinga does these things, I look at him, I looked at his track record and asked myself, who has the goodwill? I looked just a year before we went to the streets. He was on the streets with his people, having a sufuria revolution. This same Rigathi who you are praising used to call them hiyo watu ya kuvaa masufuria ya kuharibu nchi, hawataki watu waende mbele. That's what they used to say about a revolution. Now they suddenly want to behave as if they've suddenly become so clever.
But then, some people, sorry for interjecting, some young people, though some of them, those that you were with on the streets, are saying that they did not ask for a broad-based government, that they did not ask for the likes of Joho or Paranya and the former Kiambu Governor Kabogo to join government, that they asked for accountability. Yes. They asked for an end to extrajudicial killings. You know these things better. Yes. That they asked for an end to corruption, but now we see what is happening in parliament, what is happening everywhere. They say Raila betrayed them.
You know, for someone to betray you, you must have had a contract. You must have had a social contract of sorts. But at the beginning of our revolution, we said, Mzee, Baba, stay home. What you have done for us is enough. And he did exactly that. 2, Baba is not the appointing authority. Baba does not determine who sits in cabinet. He can suggest names, he can do whatever, but the final seal lies in the hand of the president. So there, I think now we just want to drag Raila Odinga's name, which is a hobby. If you want to get cheap political mileage, I will tell you now, given you for you, if you want great viewership for this show, find a person who will come and sit in this chair and insult Raila Amolo Odinga and call me a traitor and those things. The views are going to soar. But once the emotion has died, we will need to look at things for what they are, because he did not hijack our revolution. Raila Amolo Odinga did not do this shameful thing that I see Rigathi Gachagua, Kina Kalonzo doing, and no offense to those leaders, but they want to associate themselves. They want to say, oh, our children, calm down, we have spoken to them, we have listened. Oh, they want to jump on us and slogania. Raila Odinga was man enough to respect our revolution. Never once has he ever looked at me and said, oh, the thing that you are doing was childish. No. He has said we're in the middle of a revolutionary moment and it requires eternal vigilance. But a country is bigger than individual. It's bigger than individual interests.
Tell me, when Rigiji comes out and says that I have spoken with our young people, that I have spoken with the Gen Zs, they are not going to go to the streets.
He has spoken to us as who?
Tell us.
Yes,
maybe was the reason he was the force behind you.
And that's why sometimes I get like this and I sometimes become very concerned. Because when I see my friends, some of the people who I used to organize with, they want attend Rigiji's rallies. Some of these leaders, they attend them even in disguise. They attend their rallies publicly. Then they come and try to impose, oh, hi cousins on us. Those little tribal dog whistles. When I see them, I become very cross. Because that's why I keep on asking myself, why is it then that you're so mad at Ruto, but then when we try to talk about Regigi, you're becoming very shaky. Yeah. Then now you've suddenly rushed to crown him as the leader of revolution. And so I get very many thoughts, but I am very glad that I made the right decision to join the Orange Democratic Movement, because Raila Odinga has not faltered on his principles. There is nothing that has changed about what he used to say, what he used to do. He has always been a statesman. Last year, he had a perfect opportunity to come in and take advantage of the chaos, and he would even have become the head of state. He would have at that time, because when power falls, only the most organized forces can pick it up. And he had the people's goodwill. But he put himself aside and said, now we just have to steady this ship. A man who has been in the quest for presidency for close to 5 times. I have looked for things, and when I fail even once, I lose hope. When I fail twice, it is exceptional. When I fail 3 times, there's very countable things I failed in 3 times. This is a man who has pursued the presidency at the highest level, enduring public ridicule, enduring falsehoods, enduring propaganda every single day, malignment of his name and that of the honor of his family. He has endured all that. He had a golden opportunity in the chaos to step in and take that, but he did not. He chose the country over. Well, all these leaders were busy pouring money into the people. These people who are calling themselves opposition right now were sending all these organizers a lot of money to try, keep going, keep going, keep going. He stayed away from it. So now, when I look at it, when you say people have betrayed you, you have to have had a contract. Because I will look at you and I'll ask you a simple question. I have never once stood in front of the people to ask them for money, for anything. Despite the fact that at some point, the work that I was doing needed money. I did not ask anyone for money. There are certain characters who showed up and even came and presented political parties to the people, and they took money from people. And now they've said that they've stepped aside. Several people, it's not even one. They've raised money and now they've stepped away. They didn't even use...
Are you speaking about Morara? There is the people's bench. We just say it the way it is, as long as you have evidence.
Morara is one of the people who started a party. Now you see him, he stepped away from politics because he said that it's
hectic. He says
it is.
KRA was unleashed on him.
Those kinds of things, and that's a personal decision that I understand. But even if you are to use Morara as a case study, that is a person you would say you would have a contract with, because you invested in him and you gave him your money. Yeah. But me, what I did is just the role of an active citizen, exercising my democratic right, that I said I have nothing to lose but my miserable life. Yes, I put my life aside. I used to have a well-paying job. I used to do all these things. I used to have a business where I would do suits for people. I would do some consulting work. I put all of that aside. Jeopardized a lot of the work that I was doing. To the point now that I'm enduring this, not once did I go to the public and tell them, this is what I want you to do. I want you to give me your money. This is what I will do with that money. No. Because I believed the work that we were doing was important, each and every one of us. So I do not have a contract with anybody. The contract I had was for me and my state, and I said, this finance bill is why I'm going to the streets. And it failed. And I even sustained that spiel further, that I was even turned into a mouthpiece, Fred. There's times you can see people from NGOs are giving me, you can see me, and I didn't understand what that was about. I'm just being given statements left, right, and center to read. So my work was just to be used as a mouthpiece for NGOs. They were not even showing me their books. So then I get information that these people are getting funding from abroad. These people are getting funding from dubious characters locally. Then I said, no, I will not agree that you use my image in circulation to as a rubber stamp for these shenanigans that you're up to. Then they went up in arms, but I will sit down and ask you, what did you do for me? Because you see, that now becomes a different thing. But I stepped away from all that. That whole question of betrayal, I think, is it's just chicanery from the people to just try and soothe themselves for the decisions that they've made.
I hear you.
Personally, I'm just like, we have a country, and this is a country that we love. I've been to many countries, but no country comes close to Kenya. So Kenya first, Kenya forward, Kenya mbele, Kenya kwanza, Kenya kila kitu.
I hear you.
Yes.
Rigiji has come from America.
Yes.
He wanted to pull a Raila Odinga kind of grand comeback. Did it succeed or it flopped? It flopped.
Your viewers will tell you. The people who think it succeeded, but we all know. If it succeeded, we would have known. But he's an engineer of chaos. And we cannot forget the atrocities, because the most revolutionary thing that Gachagua has done is get impeached. But he was not impeached unfairly. The members of parliament, everyone, if you listen to the whispers in the corridors of power, tell you that he was a vile man. He was a corrupt man. It is not a lie that he was corrupt. If we try to audit Rigiji, the funds that were meant for that road of his, he has to account for those funds, but he has not. The employees in the office of the deputy president, when he was still in office, the whole unit came from his village. He's a tribal man. So while I'm not saying that the politicians are holy, but because I am a citizen, I can audit that man and say specifically for him, he deserved everything that came for him. And then he tries to go around and spin this tribal narrative. In the United States, by the way, Rigiji is such a joker in that regard. His US trip was just a tribally mobilized thing, because you would think that he would take anything to the Senate. You think you just meet the United States Senate like that? You just present things just because you've shown up in the United States of America. He shows up having taken a photo with a policeman, a thing which you here in Nairobi, you cannot take a photo with a policeman. Not that there's anything wrong with the policeman, but we could take photos with policemen. I've met more important people than Rigiji did. I met the Kenyan community. I did not try to turn it into a tribal narrative. I've met mayors of cities. I have met people, heads of in charge of security. I've met people from the embassy, but I did not try to spin it and make it look like I'm trying to scuttle whatever it is that is happening in the country. And I'm very happy that fellow young people saw through his balderdash, and they called him out. There's a leader from the June 25th movement that's based in Baltimore and Maryland, that she just told her the truth. Valentine just told him the truth, that you cannot just turn this into a tribal caucus. That's what he tried to do. And of course, because people fall for propaganda, they believed him. It's crazy. His US trip, I know his US trip was nonsensical. In a political sense, if I were to analyze it critically, what I was doing in the US made more political sense
than what Rigiji did?
Than what he did. All that I did not do, I decided not to try and do political mobilization. That's all I did not do. But I had the chance. I broke bread with Kenyans in New York. I broke bread with Kenyans in Washington. Broke bread with Kenyans in Pittsburgh. I broke bread with Kenyans in Virginia. Broke bread with Kenyans in Jersey City.
Tell me, he's saying that his main job, why he's come back, is to make President William Ruto a one-term president.
But he'll make President Ruto a one-term president as who? With what votes? He's a tribal man. His party, he decided to localize it and say, Mimi ni watu ya Murima. So now we want to understand what is this that he's trying to do. And remember, I've seen this political formation before where people are trying to galvanize themselves around tribal issues. And that's why they've been beating the drums of war, saying that 2007 is going to be, this 2027 is going to be a reincarnation of 2007. Those are dog whistles that they're sending, because you cannot make your whole campaign a tribal campaign and then now try to play saint. That's why I'm seeing they're trying to stage all these drama things. I'm seeing certain key figures resign from government. And when you see certain people like Kuria resign from government, you need to ask yourself what role they've played in previous election. It does not just resign for the sake of resignation. When 2013 was going to happen, those are the kind of people you find that Uhuru used. So I don't have a problem with people advocating for their communities. That is very different. Advocating for your community is very different than selling ethnic jingoism in the country, trying to position yourself as the greatest race, because that's the thing that happened with the Reich in Germany.
I hear you.
It's very different, and this one is specifically about those leaders, because I'm at the point where we would not be discussing people like Rigathi Gachagua if I had not gone to the streets last year. He only has political mileage because of myself and my peers going to the streets. Then we kicked him out. It's part of what we said. We want him out. We want the entire cabinet out. We want the finance bill out. So now when I look at the cabinet, anything that happens in cabinet, I will comment upon, because we are responsible. So now that's what I'm looking at. And I'm seeing all these people doing all these political formations. They should keep the tribalism away, because nobody is going to board that, even if you come with your own votes. The only person I can say authoritatively who has a chance, an unmoved and an unshaken voter base in 2027, a person who can become president effortlessly, is Raila Amolo Odinga. His voter base remains largely unchanged. If you think about President Ruto, he's suffered some hits. If you think about Rigathi Gachagua, he claims that he's gone with a mountain, assuming he's gone with his mountain, and that mountain only gave us about 850,000.
But Raila, they say Kalonzo is gone too. He was with him. He's no longer with him.
That's what I'm saying. But if they decide to go, if Kalonzo decides to go with Rigathi Gachagua, he will not go anywhere. If he decides to take his campaign in that tribal sense, because they think they have the GenZ, but the GenZs have told them, you play your politics out there. We still do not want whatever it is that you're doing here. So for me, those are non-issues. They are not a threat to, personally, as I understand this politics, ODM is in a position where it will administer state in 2027.
The same ODM, we have seen Babu Owino is pulling, from a different direction. We are seeing Sifuna, we are seeing the likes of Caleb Amisi. The Young Turks are pulling, they are going away, shaking ODM from inside.
The party is called the Orange Democratic Movement for a reason. The shaking you're talking about is the movement aspect. They're speaking their minds, is the democracy. And that is this constitution that is an all-binding, omni-binding spell. It's a spell cast on us as Kenyans. We submit ourselves only to the 2010 constitution.
They're not rebels?
Rebels how? If they were rebels, they would have been subjected to party disciplinary action. They have not faced party disciplinary action. So when you see, for example, a Secretary General go and say the things that he's saying out there, he's speaking his mind as a member of the party, as a spokesperson of the party. But then the party is also a collective that one person has to submit themselves to. I dare anyone who thinks that ODM is an unfair party, and I keep on saying this. People talk about the ODM as if it is a party of no contradictions. They talk about it as if it is the communist utopia. What other party can you mention in this country where an elected member of parliament can go and speak their minds as freely as the members of the Orange Democratic Movement have, and they will still survive in the party?
But the electorate do not speak their minds freely. When it's come to elections and nominations, they are forced. Some people say, look at what happened with ODM in their strongholds. In Nyanza's, majorly all the MPs were given direct tickets.
However, I feel like that's a separate question that I can answer.
Yes, please.
Because when you speak about, I'm currently just talking about members of parliament. Because as a member, when you talk about that issue, that's what we are trying to change. The Orange Democratic Movement trying to represent a voice of the voiceless. We youth have been marginalized for a very long time. You find people, the current Youth League president is a person who has no idea of what the youth want in this country. He has no interest in bettering our affairs. The current person who's being called, the person, because we are in an elective period.
Speaking about Ketora.
I'm talking about Ketora, has no idea. He's not even a youth. From this, I'm saying it here in this bench, that if he wants to go to court, let him go to court. I will say he is not a youth. He's not the Youth League president, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not speaking out of turn. I am the acting leader of the youth movement, the Irish Democratic Movement, until we finish these elections.
You overthrown him.
It's not even overthrowing. It's just common sense. The Constitution has overthrown him. If anything, I've been doing more lifting for the Youth League, which everybody has been doing, than he has been doing. He just sits around and wants to hold the party at ransom. They want to stress Mzee. They want to ask him for nominations. They want to oppose the things that have been done, as though the party does not have a zebra list after the elections. And that's part of what we're trying to change. As the electorate, that electorate that you're speaking about, I am also part of that electorate. And I'm saying, as we get in here, we want to give the young people a voice. We are also hoping that other people from counties, because we've seen very peaceful elections largely in the country, because this is not a country without contradictions. Most of the elections have gone ahead peacefully. There are parts of Kenya where the electorate has opposed those, rejected the election results. That part, the party has ordered for fresh elections. So that's on the electorate side. There's a lot of change that is happening. There's a lot of goodwill from His Excellency. But then now, going back to these legislators, they're speaking their minds, but they know that they cannot survive in any other outfit. They cannot survive in any other political outfit. You know, if you disagree with somebody, you need to have the kahunas to do it. If you call yourself a man, you need to be able to walk away. I walked away from a movement I thought was not serving me, a movement that I realized was shrouded by tribalism. I said, I'm walking away from you. I'll be damned. I don't care about the consequences. I will not associate myself with you. I will walk away, and I will walk away without looking back. I will reach out. I will not be afraid to help you, but I will not associate myself with those principles you stand for. But now these people, you find they're speaking out of both sides of their tongues. Yeah, so you want on the one hand, you want to be part of ODM, and on the other hand, you want to scuttle the work that it's doing. Why can't these people, if they feel disgruntled, why can't they resign from the party, just like Raila Odinga did from his own father's party? Remember, all these people you're telling me were picked, have been handheld by Raila Amolo Odinga. They've been picked from nothingness.
Babu says he's loved. He's the darling of the Gen Z, but together with Sifuna.
Who gave him a ticket? Is it not the ODM party? If they were not given direct tickets, those ones, even Babu and Sifuna, as you're speaking about them, who are my seniors and I respect very much, if they were not given tickets by Raila Amolo Odinga, would they get this far? My Secretary General failed elections twice.
Sifuna?
Yes. Did he not try vying his home for the parliamentary seat before he was picked and brought to ODM, and then now he shines? Raila Odinga recognizes talent, and he supports that talent whether or not he gets the gratitude. That's the thing which I hate about these older people, legislators of ODM who are older than me. Apart from a few, these people are thankless to Raila Amolo Odinga. He helps you, then you kick you cut off his arm. You say, now I'm too big, I'm too popular, what I want to do is whatever. But he is a person who molded you. He mentored you when people didn't care about you. Those people that you're saying love you right now, why couldn't you convince them on your own to vote for you?
Maybe they're looking at their political future.
My senior, for example, two of my seniors, even my senior Babu, he failed in his elections on his own.
In Westland?
Yes. Then when he got the ODM ticket, that's the only time he got in. A lot of these legislators are not being fair because they're not doing the work that ODM is doing. Is supposed to be doing. As a party, they're the ones who are supposed to be giving us the grace. So there's very little lifting. Even you see when our presser was called by the whip, about less than 4 MPs show up. And those are the people that are calling themselves, they want to represent the people. Those are actually, if you see politicians behaving like that, they're being true to their colors. Because what they're looking for is not the interest of the people. It is a selfish interest. Because the interest of the people is not done in the media. It's very different for me and an elected member of parliament. This is the avenue I have. The people's bench has a very wide reach. This is where I address the people because we are two unelected citizens.
Absolutely.
But a person who has been given mandate by the party is supposed to represent the electorate, the sovereign will of the people on the floor of the house.
Tell me, as we are winding up, President Ruto has reduced the cost of university education. He's empowering young people. We saw thousands of them in State House. Is this the right thing to do?
Fred, you know, I have spoken very harshly against President Ruto in the past 1 year. But I am a firm believer of Mgala muwe na haki yake umpe. President Ruto. Yes, no, I'm saying this part
Yes.
will do very well for social
Definitely.
media because they will say
Definitely.
that I am a government agent. But I must say the things if the things are working.
Say it.
He has shown enormous goodwill to turn the country around.
Ruto.
Yes, President Ruto. This is President Ruto that I was saying Ruto must go last year. I am saying that I have analyzed with the things that have been happening. I have seen that although things are not operating at optimal levels, I am seeing that the needle is tending towards a good direction. I'm seeing a lot of development projects happening all across the country. There are some that I don't quite understand why he still would pursue. I don't particularly understand housing, and especially how the housing levy works, but affordable housing is a thing that very few countries are doing. If Kenya does affordable housing right, we become a benchmark for the whole world. And this is not me even beating the drums for him, it's just common sense. So a social safety net, very few countries, even the leaders of the developed world, are looking at a social safety net for the people. I'm seeing a lot of a road network happening. As we've said, we had a campaign of fees must fall. Last year in September, 9th of September, I remember we were supposed to do that with the university students. And I'm seeing that the fees are actually steadily on the fall. And I'm seeing that this whole implementation of the 10-point agenda, which includes meaningful inclusion of youth in public life, a war on corruption, an audit of our debt, prudent and judicial use of our resources, creation of employment opportunities for the young people, which is part of what we've been fighting for, education, affordable education, social safety nets, healthcare, those things are all encompassed in this, the right and freedoms to assembly. I'm seeing a lot of steady progress on this. Are we where we are supposed to be? No. Is it headed towards the right direction? Yes. I'm willing to support a man who, at the cost of his own pride, at the cost of being looked at as a weak leader, decides to even work and collaborate multisectorally.
And that is William Ruto?
I'm willing to appreciate that about William.
You are willing to support him for 2 terms? Should Raila Odinga say so?
If Raila Amolo Odinga says so, and that is a party position, I will support him.
If he says William is good, you will support him?
But also I've given you a plethora of reason. Because if these things are held up, if I see this 10-point agenda implemented, if I see that now we have freedom of assembly, we are no longer being killed just for expressing ourselves artistically. I don't believe that young people should be killed for speaking against a regime. I think it is wrong. But I don't see how it benefits a president for a young person to die. Because I know there are people who are sabotaging him from the forces, from the system. There's a lot of, we have to be honest about this there's tribalism. While we might accuse people in power also saying that using their tribal privileges to appoint people that they like, there's also tribal sabotage happening around the president. And if he does these things, if he shows that goodwill, and he shows that he is not trying to sabotage the party that is the Orange Democratic Movement. He's not trying to impose himself and do all those kinds of things. I don't see. But right now, as things stand, ODM has a chance to front a presidential candidate. But mambo ya 2027, I think tutangojea 2027.
Tell me, as we are winding up, a combination of President William Ruto and Baba Raila Amolo Odinga brought together. Can anybody send them home?
The last time those people worked together, they won the election. We know they won the election. No, Raila Amolo Odinga won the 2007 election. If they decide to work together in any way, shape, or form, I don't see how they can lose. But the youth we must see what they will do for the youth. That's what I am. For me, I want whoever administers state must treat the youth with dignity, must ensure that there's a conducive environment for us to create employment for ourselves, but also create safety nets for us, ensure there's fair taxation, ensure we have access to amenities, and even for our children, we have green spaces. So for me right now, there's a few jokers who've showed themselves up. They want to just campaign and say, oh, all these things, 1 term, 2 terms, saizi ni wakati wa kazi. Then ikifika wakati wa kura, ikifika wakati wa elections, everybody aende auze sera. Ni hao wananchi, is the people who will decide.
You were lucky to survive, the deaths when your fellow comrades were being felled on the streets. Very painful, the likes of Rex Masai.
Yes.
And now the president is saying that he has agreed for compensation for this. What is your take?
I think it's part of what I was saying. We might not compensate their lives, but we must, 1, acknowledge that there are atrocities that happened. But 2, we must also look for some sort of financial reprieve for those families. People are trying to politicize this issue, but if you lose a child, I think if someone comes and helps, and we institutionalize this help and say that now we might have this sort of education for you. I do not know what the frameworks are, but I trust that the people in that task force, and I've seen a very good friend of mine, a person I look up to who has mentored me as well, called Gabriel Oguda, who is in there. Part of these ideas are going through that, and I have faith in that task force led by Professor McOure, that they are going to do the right thing. Because we might not, it is a sad thing. It is a very sad thing. Because I am a bitter man with the policemen who go around killing people. Because I have survived several assassination attempts. Some in public, some in private. Now there are people who actually lost their lives. I can only imagine what their families are going through. So if anyone can bring some sort of reprieve, instead of me fighting this president, it's one thing I support. I actually support it wholeheartedly. And we will take this through a national dialogue process, and we will go ahead. That's the next thing we're going to do.
Thank you.
Kenya must dialogue with itself for us to
Thank
go
you.
forward.
As we are winding up, I want you to look at this camera and speak to your fellow young people. You were with them on the streets.
Yeah.
Some of you have already now joined political parties. Some are still hopeless. They do not have hope for tomorrow. They think that their world is crumbling and coming to the end. What do you have to say for them, even as your last word?
If you're a young person who's watching me and has believed in me in this journey so far, I ask you, let's keep walking this together. Kenya must dialogue with itself. We are the ones who will shape the future. It will not be shaped by any other person. This thing for us outsourcing, the best thing we can outsource is knowledge, because the people who are older than us only beat us by experience. But ni sisi ndio tutashape Kenya yenye tunahitaji. And haitakuwa na utapeli. All these people, you see people coming here with money schemes, wanakuja kazi ni kuharibiana majina. Hatutajenga Kenya, hatutasonga mbele bila kusaidiana, hatutasonga mbele bila kama kazi tunataka kufanya tu ni kujibizana, kutukanana mitandaoni. So I urge you to consider that we must talk. Any time that there has been dialogue anywhere world over, there has been great progress. So usikubali hao watu wanataka kukutapeli, kukupatia pesa kidogo, upige kijana mwenzako, mtu asikupatie pesa kidogo, ueneze propaganda au uvumi na uongo. Na kuhimiza kwamba kama wewe ni kijana mwenzangu na unanisikiliza, tuisongeshe Kenya yetu mbele, kwa sababu ni sisi pekee ndio fahari ya Kenya. Ni sisi ambao tutairithi nchi hii baada hao wazee wameondoka. So let's work together. Let's join political parties. Tusikubali mtu yote atutenganishe kikabila. Let's not let all these ethnic things, all these jingoisms to come in. Watu wanatudanganya. Kama una akili, sisi kama vijana tujiunge na vyama, tuhakikishe kwamba mabadiliko ambayo tunayataka kuyaona katika vyama hivyo vinaenezwa, kisha tujitayarishe kuenda katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao, kwa sababu hatuwezi kuwa kwamba sisi tunaangaliwa tu kama as a voter basket ambapo watu wanakuja tukuvuna wasikopanda. Lakini tunavyoendelea, naomba tuzidi kudumisha amani, tuzidi kufikiria, tuzidi kupambana katika roho ya mageuzi, because this is a struggle that is protracted and it requires eternal vigilance. Tunasema we have nothing to lose but our miserable lives, but we have a country that's bigger than each and every one of us, and we are going to inherit this land. So let us work together to see how Kenya goes forward, and let's synergize. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in my party. I do not have to be in your party. But as long as we are agreed at the basic level that we want the best for Kenya, Kenya will progress in leaps and bounds.
Asante. Kiswahili chako kizuri sana ndugu.
Nashukuru.
Na mie pia naomba kwamba nitamatishe kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Amekuwa ni mojawapo ya vijana shupavu. Bwana Kasmuel McOure alikuwa barabarani katika zile siku za GenZ wakiwa wakipigania uongozi mzuri. Sasa hivi ni kiongozi wa vijana katika chama kikuu cha ODM ambapo ameshikilia kikiki. Nimekuwa wenu Fred Ogweno, tukiwajieni moja kwa moja kutoka hoteli ya Muthu Silver Springs Hotel, na hadi wakati mwingine tena tukipata fursa tutazidi kuwaleteni kipindi hiki, na usisahau pia kubonyeza hicho kidude na uweze kusubscribe kwa YouTube. Subscribe ni ngumu.
Subscribe ni ngumu hiyo.
Usubscribe kwa Kiswahili kwa YouTube, ili wakati wote tunapoweka vipindi kama hivi unaweza kuvipata katika njia mufti na njia shwari kabisa. Hadi wakati mwingine, ubarikiwe sana na nimeshukuru. Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Thank you so much.
Umenifundisha Kiswahili bwana katika People's Bench.
Thank you. The People's Bench.
Asante.
I appreciate. The bench by the people, for the people, and with the people.
Yes.
Always welcome, my brother.
Thank you very much,
Thank
friend.
you. That was wonderful.
Asante.
Thank you. you.